Good day to all of you children. We have to do few more sums today. We pick up from where we left yesterday. देखो, it is said that the 1 mole of an ideal gas at standard temperature and pressure occupies 22.4 liters. So 1 mole of gas, any gas at standard temperature and pressure STP, that will occupy 22.4 liters of volume. That is molar volume. That means 1 mole. What is the ratio of molar volume to the atomic volume of mole of hydrogen? So what is the question, children? He is saying if we fill 1 mole of gas, if we have 1 mole of gas at standard temperature and pressure, then 1 mole of any gas will occupy 22.4 liters of volume. So volume occupied will be 22.4 liters, and we know 1 liter is 10 raised to minus 3 meter cube. That means volume is 22.4 into 10 raised to minus 3 meter cube. This is the volume occupied by 1 mole of gas at standard temperature and pressure. Now children, in the previous example, we found out the atomic volume of 1 mole of hydrogen gas. In the previous example, 1 mole of hydrogen gas was given to us, if I am not mistaken. Yes, hydrogen molecule was given to us of radius 0.5 angstrom. Radius of each molecule was 0.5 angstrom, and we were told what is the atomic volume of 1 mole. So we had found out the actual atomic volume of 1 mole. If I am not mistaken, it was 0.3 into 10 raised to minus 6 meter cube. This was the volume occupied by 1 mole of molecules of hydrogen. Actually, the radius of 1 molecule was given. Then we took 4 upon 3 pi r cube to calculate volume of 1 molecule. And then 1 mole molecules we multiplied by Avogadro's number. We found out the total volume of 1 mole of hydrogen atoms actually how much they will occupy. But when we put them in a container at standard temperature and pressure, then they spread out and they occupy this much large volume. So they are asking us why there is difference in the volume. Actual volume which we found out in the previous question, and now they are saying actually if you go to see in a container, you need a container of 22.4 into 10 raised to minus 3 meter cube to fill a gas of 1 mole at standard temperature and pressure. So why this volume is large? Let us first find out the ratio. Ratio will be V upon V atomic, that will be 22.4 into 10 raised to minus 3 upon 0.3 into 10 raised to minus 6. So if I try to do the calculations, where is the calculator gone now? Wait children, I have lost my calculator. Must be here. Yeah. So see, if I divide it now, 22.4 divided by 0.3, that is equal to so much, 74.66. So that is 74.66. This 6 will come over here into 10 raised to 3. So this is, if I multiply by 3, so into 1000, that comes out to be 74667 approximately. So the ratio is this much. So you can see the ratio is very large, children. That means the container will be very large in which you want to fill up 1 mole of hydrogen molecules, 1 mole hydrogen molecules at standard temperature and pressure, whereas actually they occupy only this much volume. So why they require so large volume when they spread out at standard temperature and pressure? Because you have to understand, intermolecular distance between the gases is very large. So lot of gap is there between two molecules, because of which such a large volume is occupied by gas. When we actually fill it in a container at standard temperature and pressure, so instead of this much small volume, it occupies a very large amount of volume. That is the point. Please pause and copy, children. Okay, children. Now the next question we are having. See, very good questions are there for concept. Explain this observation clearly. If you look out of a window of a fast moving train, the nearby trees, houses, etc. seem to move rapidly in opposite direction, of course, to the train's motion, but the distant objects like hilltops, the moon, the stars, etc. seem to be stationary. In fact, since you are aware that you are moving, these distant objects seem to move with us. So sometimes, children, when you are going by train, you must have observed that trees which are nearby, they go very fast behind. And if you look at distant hilltops, hills that you can see, they move very slowly. And supposing if you are fortunate, if you are going on a road in a full moon night, and if you look at the moon, then as you are moving, you feel that the moon is moving with you. Why do you feel moon is moving with you? Because you are actually moving, and actually the moon is stationary with respect to you, and therefore the moon also appears to be moving. And when you understand the concept of relative velocity in chapter 3, you will be able to understand better why moon appears to be moving along with you. So let us concentrate on the question at hand right now. We are talking about a train, we are looking out of the window. The nearby objects seem to be moving very fast in the opposite direction of train movement. That means they appear to be moving very fast, they go behind very quickly as compared to the objects that you can see at a very great distance from the window of the train. So children, you will have to understand the concept of angular velocity over here, that you will see in rotational motion in detail, but anyway, fine. This is the width of the window, supposing, and supposing there is a tree over here. So the tree on the window or at your eyes will subtend only this much angle, will make only this much angle theta. And the distant objects which are very far away from the window of the train, they will make this much angle at the window, say alpha. So you can clearly make out that theta is more than alpha. Now in time delta t, you will cross from this point to this point. So you think that earlier you were seeing from here and now you have reached over here. You have crossed the distance of the window. So instead of thinking that tree is moving, you think that you are moving from here to here. It is one and the same thing. So as the width of the window is covered, as you go from this point to this point, so you will see this angle is theta made by the tree with you. So when you are here, the tree appears to be at this side, and when you reach here, the tree appears to be over here. So two line of sides make angle theta. When you are here looking at the tree, this is the angle, and when you reach over here, this is the angle, this is the line of sight. So this line of sight and this line of sight make angle theta. At the first instant you are here at this end of the window, you are looking at a tree, so this line of sight. Then you reach over here and you are again looking at the tree, so this is the line of the sight from the two ends of the window. So two lines of sight make angle theta, and similarly alpha for this object which is very far away. Now angular velocity, just as your linear speed which you have studied in your class 9, that is distance upon time, linear distance upon time. Similarly, there is something called angular velocity, that is angle upon time, so theta upon t. Now in the same time, whether you are looking at a tree or you are looking at the mountain, you reach from this point to this point as the train moves forward. So your eyes from this point of the window reach to this point of the window in the same time. So t is same whether you are looking at this object or this object. So omega for the tree, angular speed, this is the formula for angular speed, angle upon time. So angular speed for tree will be theta upon t, and angular speed for mountain, maybe this is the mountain which is at a great distance and there is a tree over here. Omega for mountain will be alpha upon t. Time is same for both. In the same time you reach from here to here, whether you are looking at the tree or whether you are looking at the mountain. So you can make out, because theta is more than alpha, so angular speed of tree is more than angular speed of mountain. So because angular speed of tree is more, it appears to be moving at a greater speed, and because angular speed of mountain is less, it appears to be moving very slowly. This is the point. And when you go to rotational motion or even in laws of motion, we will be covering this point about angular speed in chapter number 5, laws of motion, the last articles of that chapter. There you will be introduced to the concept of angular velocity. There you will be able to understand better. But anyway, I told you in short, angular speed is given by angle upon time. whether you are looking at the tree or the mountain, you reach from here to here in the same time. So time remains the same in both the cases. Only the fact is that angle is different, and therefore angular speed is more for tree and less for mountain. Angular speed is more, the linear speed also is more. Therefore you find trees moving at a greater speed and mountains at a lesser speed. So it's a concept of angular speed anyway. We proceed. Now children, you already know what is parallax. In this all description about parallax is given. They are asking us what is 1 parsec distance. So you already know what is 1 parallactic second. When I was teaching you the theory part, 1 parsecond come, and I told you okay, this is the orbit of the earth, this is the sun and this is the earth. This much distance between sun and earth, this is called 1 astronomical unit. And from here, if we keep on going far away from this point, so you can see as I go away from far, so this is the angle right now. If I go far, this will become this much angle. If I go still far, it will become this much angle. But the angle will keep on reducing as you go farther and farther from this midpoint of the line joining sun and earth. As you go farther and farther away, you can see that this angle will keep on decreasing. Now what is 1 parsec? He wants to say how much distance we should move so that the angle over here becomes 1 second. And then whatever is this distance, this will be called 1 parsec. Please understand. So 1 parsec is the distance when we have reached at such a great distance that when I see from here, the angle appears to be only 1 second. 1 second, you know, it is 60th part of a minute, and 1 minute is 60th part of a degree. So you already know that 1 second is 1 upon 3600 part of a degree. You already know that. What is 1 second? 1 degree is divided into 60 parts. 1 degree is divided into 60 parts. Each part is called a minute. And every minute is further divided into 60 parts. Each part is called a second. So totally 3600 seconds make up 1 degree. So 1 second will be 1 upon 3600 degree. So he is telling us at what distance we should go, what should be this much distance, so that the line joining the sun and earth makes 1 second angle over here. This is 1 astronomical unit, and the data is given to us in the question, children. Data is given to us as it is 1.5 to 10 is to 11 meter, that is given to me. This 1 astronomical unit, I know this one distance. And it is 1 second, and children, it is given to us when you are studying this chapter. I will derived for you how much is 1 second in radian, so we can take it directly. And 1 second, that is 4.85 into 10 raised to minus 6 radian. Please understand. That means this angle 1 second should be 4.85 into 10 raised to minus 6 radian. This is the point. So what should be this one distance? So we know the formula L equal to r theta, where theta should be in radian. Length of arc means this much. You already know, look at this figure. Now I will be talking about like this. This is the point O, this is sun and earth. This is the point O, this angle is theta, which is equal to 1 second, which is so many radians. I want this length of arc L, and this is, sorry, wait. This is radius of the circle. I will keep center over here of the rounder. Keeping this as radius, I will make an arc like this. So the arc may go like this. And because this angle is very, very small, I have told you previously also that this arc and this chord length will appear to be equal. So the length of arc will be equal to this chord length, which is 1 AU. So L equal to r theta, length of arc, that is 1 AU. So 1.5 into 10 is to 11. R means this distance you want, 1 parsec. Into theta 1 second, how much it is? 4.85 into 10 raised to minus 6. So D will become 1.5 into 10 raised to 11 upon 4.85 into 10 raised to minus 6. D will be so many meter. I think you can find out using calculator. Please pause and copy, children. I have done 2 sums for you. Please pause and copy. Okay, children, next one we are having. The nearest star to our solar system is 4.29 light years away. The nearest star from our solar system, that is 4.29 light years away. You already know what is light year. Light year is a unit of distance, and that is distance traveled by the light in 1 year, and it is 9.46 into 10 raised to 15 meter. 1 light year is 9.46 into 10 raised to 15 meter, distance traveled by light in 1 year. How much is this distance in terms of parsecs? That means 4.2 light years is how much parsec? So the question is 4.29 light year is equal to x parsec. Now children, you know 1 light year will be 9.46 into 10 raised to 15 meter. So 4.29 light year will be 4.29 into 9.46 into 10 raised to 15 meter. So 4.29 light years is this much. So this much meter is there, and we want how much parsec. So we write here parsec and meters. Okay children. So I know if it is 1 parsec, then the distance is 3.08 into 10 raised to 16 meter. We know this value. 1 parsec is these many meters. So these many meters, 4.2 light years. So 4.29 into 9.46 into 10 raised to minus 15 will be x parsec. Cross multiply and get the answer. That you can do it. So I leave it to you, just cross multiply. 1 parsec is these many meters. So these many meters are required how many parsec? So supposing they are x parsec. So these many meter will be x parsec. X into this equal to this into this. Divide, you already have a calculator with you, you can do it. Please pause and copy children. Okay children, now the next one is precise measurements of physical quantities are the need of science naturally. For example, to ascertain the speed of an aircraft, one must have an accurate method to find its position at closely separated instants of time. Closely separated instants of time means we should be able to find out at different instants of time where can the aircraft be located. This was the actual motivation behind discovery of radar in World War II. That means scientists were trying to make a device which could detect the exact position of an aircraft using radar technology. So that was the motivation. If we can make a machine, if we can design an equipment which can tell us what will be the position of an aircraft in future at any other time, at any other instant, so that we can fire a shell on it and we can destroy it. So radar was used for that purpose. Radar was invented to locate the possible position of aircraft at a given time. Think of different examples in modern science where precise measurements of length, time and mass are required. So children, if you want to measure distance of moon from earth, so what we do is we send a laser signal from here to moon. This is earth and this is moon. One laser light will go like this, traveling at a speed of 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. It will come back. If d is the distance, this is the speed which we call as c actually. So we will first send a ray and it will be reflected from the moon. It will come back to us. We will see the time delay between when we send the signal and at what time it came back. We will note that time. We send a signal and we start counting the time. It goes and comes back. We will see how much time the ray has taken to go and come back. So if t is the time taken by the ray to go and come back, in this much time it has traveled distance 2d. So 2d will be equal to, or other speed is distance upon time. So distance will be equal to ct upon 2. You know that c is a very large value, 3 into 10 raised to 8. Now if I make even a small amount of error in measuring time, then the distance between earth and moon can be changed by a very drastic amount. Therefore, this time should be measured very precisely to an order of 10 raised to minus 9 second. To this order, if we can measure time, then only we will be able to accurately find out distance between the earth and moon. So this is one place where we need precise measurement of time. Otherwise, the results for D can be very different from the actual ones. Then children, medical science, there are laser therapy going on these days. And using laser, we are destroying the tumor inside the body in different parts of the body in a person's body. So to locate where is the exact location of tumor inside the body, we need to have precise location of tumor, and for that we should have precise measurement of length to ascertain where is actually the tumor located. For that we need precise measurement of length to the order of 10 raised to minus 9 meter. If we make even a small mistake in precise measurement of length, then the laser can attack some different part of the body instead of the actual tumor, and the results can be very dangerous for the person undergoing treatment. So the laser should go and attack directly the tumor only for the benefit of the patient. Even if a small amount of deflection is observed, then it can be very dangerous for the person. And the measurement of length over here is very, very precise, and it is of the order of 10 raised to minus 9 meter. So in this case, you need precise measurement of length when we are trying to locate the position of tumor inside the body. And when we are dealing with nuclear reactors, nuclear reactions, their mass involved is very, very small, of neutrons and protons like this. There, even if we calculate, if there is a small error in the precision of mass, the results can be dangerous in nuclear reactors, and the mass that is to be measured, that should have precision of 10 raised to minus 9 kg. So see how small amount of mass we have to measure, and what tremendous accuracy we need. The nuclear reactors, we need to have very precise measurements regarding mass of the order of 10 raised to minus 9 kg. While measuring distance between Earth and Moon, we should have precise measurement of time of the order of 10 raised to minus 9 second. And I told you about laser therapy. When we want to locate the position of tumor, their precise measurement of length of the order of 10 raised to minus 9 meter is required. So this is about precision in our daily life in modern day science. Please write, children, whatever I have spoken, then we proceed more. Children, some interesting questions for us. See, just as precise measurements are necessary in science, we just now saw, it is equally important to make rough estimates of quantities using rudimentary ideas, means elementary ideas, and common observations. Think of ways by which you can estimate the following. The total mass of rain-bearing clouds over India during monsoon. So what is the mass of rain-bearing clouds over the entire country in the month of monsoon season? So whatever is the mass of water held by the clouds, that will be the mass of clouds. So we actually want to know what is the mass of water, rainwater falling all over the country in the rainy season. So children, you assume that, supposing this is our country, right? Like this is our India. I am just making a rough sketch. Its area is 3.3 million square kilometers, and supposing on this total area, the average rainfall that is taking place, we know it is 10 centimeter. So the height is 0.1 meter, and this is the area. So I can come to know what is the volume of water falling. So volume of the water falling will be right over here. Volume will be area into height. I will come to know what is the volume. Area I know, height also I know. Rough estimate. He already told that we need rough estimate. We know that density is mass upon volume. So mass will be density into volume. That will be density into area into height. Now we know density of water. Density of water is 1000 kg per meter cube. So put the value of density, area, this much, and convert it into meter square. Kilometer square is there. So please make it 3.3 into 1 kilometer will be 10 cube meter. So 10 raised to 6 it will become 10 raised to 12 meter square. See, 1 kilometer is 10 cube meter. So 1 kilometer square will be 10 6 meter square. So 10 6 and 10 6, that will become 10 raised to 12. So put density as 1000, area is this much, and height, you will get the mass of rainwater falling on the entire country. We get a rough estimate like this. Okay. What is the next rough estimate we want? The mass of an elephant. So children, what we do is, supposing this is the boat, this is the area of the base of the boat. First we will keep the boat in water. So because of its own weight, it will go inside the water by some amount. So you think like this. I am doing second question for you. This is the water level, and you keep the boat and it sinks by this much amount, supposing by d1 amount. A is the area of the base, I know that. So I can calculate the area of the base. What is the area of the base of the boat? Then first I submerge the boat, I leave the boat free in the water. Because of its own weight, it will go inside. I can mark, I can see what is the distance d1. So what is the volume of water displaced by the boat? That is equal to area into depth. And area into depth करेंगे तो we will get volume. So this is the volume of water displaced by the boat. By whatever amount boat is going inside the water, equal amount of volume it will displace. So whatever volume is occupied by the boat, that volume of water it has displaced. So V1 is this much. Now put the elephant inside it. So naturally it will go much more deeper. So maybe this is the situation like this now, and now the boat goes much more deeper. So I make things like this. So I am drawing a small figure like this. So this is area with me, and now it is going inside by an amount d2. So now what is the volume submerged? A into d2. So what is the difference in the volume? That is A d2 minus A d1. This is the difference in the volume. This is the difference in the volume of water displaced. Earlier water displaced was A d1, now volume displaced is A d2. Extra volume displaced is how much? This much. And what is the mass of this volume? We know that density is mass upon volume. So mass will be rho into V. So extra mass will be rho into delta V. That will be rho into A into d2 minus d1. Extra mass means the mass of elephant that you put. This was m, and now we are putting elephant, that is extra mass. So delta m. Delta m will be rho A d2 minus d1. I know the density of water, that is 10 cube kg per meter cube. Area of the boat and d2 minus d1, the difference of depth. If I put all the values, I will come to know what is the mass of the elephant. Like this, we can have a rough estimate, children. Then, the wind speed during a storm. So go in an open area where there is a lot of open area, a park or whatever, a big park, big open ground like in your school, and then somebody has to go to the top of the school building. Supposing this is the building over here, and lot of open area is there, so that wind can blow easily. And somebody has to go to the top and hold a balloon over here, and some other person has to hold the balloon from here. So one person will remain at the bottom on the ground, other person will go to the top and hold the balloon over here. Or he will take the balloon with himself at the top and then throw the string, leave the string, so the string will come down, he will hold the balloon in his hand, the string slowly comes down, you tie a stone at this end of the string, so that with the help of stone the string reaches down, and the person standing over here, he will hold the string, and this person also at the top will keep on holding the balloon, and when the wind blows, then one person can keep a tab on time, and because if the wind is blowing like this, what will happen? The balloon will start drifting like this. So you see that the balloon has reached over here after a certain time. So when the balloon becomes stable because of the wind pressure, then you see once the balloon stops going forward, you stop your watch and see how much time has passed. So as soon as this person leaves the balloon, start the stopwatch, and you will observe balloon will drift slowly under the effect of wind, and after some time it will stop going further. At the time you stop your watch and see how much time has passed. How much is this angle theta? We can find out, because this was vertical and now the thread is like this, so we can measure this angle theta. If this is L, and the length of the string also I know, the height of the building r. So I know that L is equal to r theta. So by measuring r, this height of the building or the length of the string approximately, rough estimate, and by measuring this angle theta, the angle between the two strings, I will come to know what is L. So I will come to know how much distance the balloon has traveled. Once I know the distance, I can find out the speed, distance upon time. Time I must have noted in my stopwatch. How much time the balloon has taken to go from this point to this point. L will be known by this formula. We will come to know the rough estimate of the speed of the wind. Then number of strands on your head. How many hair are there on your head? How many strands of hair on the head? And we assume that the head is completely full of hair, not like me. So if the head is completely covered with the hair strands, then how many hair strands can be there? You know that the diameter of the hair strand, that is 50 micrometer approximately. So this is 5 into 10 raised to minus 5 meter. This is the diameter of the hair strand, right? DH. This is the diameter of the hair strand. So I can come to know what is area occupied by one hair strand. That will be pi dh square upon 4. Pi r square means pi d square upon 4. So I will come to know what is the area occupied by one hair strand on my head. And the diameter or the radius, if I say, radius on an average is of 8 centimeter. So if you consider radius of the head roughly as 8 centimeter, so that will be 0.08 meter. So the diameter will become 0.16 meter. So diameter of the head will be this much. The area of the head will be pi d square upon 4. So total area available on the head is this much, and area occupied by one strand is this much. So what will be the number of strands of hair on our head? Total area available and area occupied by one strand. Because A is the total area available on the head and this is area occupied by one strand. So how many hair strands are there? Total area upon area occupied by one hair strand. This ratio will give you the number of hair strands. Rough estimate. Number of air molecules in your classroom. For that you need to know what is the volume of a classroom. I will do over here. There is place. What is the volume of a classroom? First you calculate that. L into B into H. Observe the length, breadth, height and multiply, you will get the volume of the room. Now we know that 1 mole occupies 22.4 liters. 1 mole means I write number and volume. 1 mole means 6.023 into 10 raised to 23. They occupy 22.4 liters means 22.4 into 10 raised to minus 3 meter cube. So LBH volume will be occupying how many N? Supposing N are the molecules in your room. N into this will be this into this. You will come to know number of air molecules inside your classroom. So remember, these many molecules occupy this much volume at standard temperature and pressure. So this much volume of classroom will have how many molecules? N. Cross multiply, we get the value. Please pause and copy, children. Rough estimates. Now, children, last question for today. It is being told to us that sun is a hot plasma ionized matter. This is fourth state of matter. Plasma ionized matter, where you will find free electrons, nucleus, and all types of ions over there. With its inner core at a temperature exceeding 10 raised to 7 Kelvin, 1 crore Kelvin inner core, and the outer surface at a temperature of 6000 Kelvin. At these high temperatures, no substance can remain in solid or liquid phase. Yes, we know. In what range do you expect the mass density of the sun to be? So he is telling us that temperature of inner core and outer core. He is telling us the mass of the sun and the volume of the sun. And he is telling us calculate its mass. And because the temperature of sun is so high, what do you feel? What should be the density of the material of the sun? Because temperature is very high and at such high temperature no substance can exist in solid or liquid state. That means it must be in the gaseous state. So that means density of sun, mass upon volume, should come out in the range of density of gases. Let us check whether it comes out or not. So density of the sun, that will be mass upon volume, that will be mass upon 4 upon 3 pi r cube. So mass of the sun is given to us as 2 into 10 raised to 30 into 3 upon 4 into 3.14, and the radius is given to us as 7 into 10 raised to 8. 7 into 10 raised to 8 whole cube. So let us find out, children, what is the range. So 2 into 3, that is 6. 6 divided by 4 divided by 3.14 divided by 7 divided by 7 divided by 7, 3 times. So this comes out to be 0.00139 something into 10 is to how much? This is 30 and this is 24. 8 is 24. 30 minus 20, this is 6. So if I write it into 10 is to 6, this comes out to be 1392 kg per meter cube density. Children, this is the density of solids, not even of gases or liquids. 1400 kg per meter cube. This is density of solids and sometimes of liquids also, because water is having density 1000 kg per meter cube. So almost the density of water, somewhat more than that. And you know density of mercury. See, density of water, that is 1000 kg per meter cube, and density of mercury, if you see, it is 13600 kg per meter cube. 13,600, and this is only 1300 means approximately it is 1400 kg per meter cube. So maybe this density is in the range of liquids or solids, but he was saying at such high temperature, when it is in a plasma state, when there are free nucleus ions and electrons moving around, how come it is having the density in the range of liquids or solids? So children, the density is so high because of the inner core having a tremendous gravitational pull on the outer core. Because of the tremendous gravitational force, the volume shrinks and therefore density increases. Otherwise the state is plasma only, it is neither liquid nor solid. The state is plasma, which is an ionized state. It is not solid or liquid state, but still we are finding density of plasma state in case of sun in the range of liquids or solids. Why? Because Earth's gravitational pull of the inner core is very powerful on the outer core, which is decreasing the volume and thus increasing the density. Therefore, even though the matter in sun is not present in the liquid or solid state, the density is in this range because of powerful gravitational force, because of which volume becomes very small and because of which density increases. Thank you and God bless you. We'll meet next time.